Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, guys. We're back again.
I didn't change. I
Same
just
outfits,
love
didn't
this.
shower.
Yep,
We stayed in the podcast room for a full week just to re-record this. Hi, guys. I'm Ani Rivera. I'm the Director of Education for Natural Beaded Rose, and this is my lovely partner in crime and life and business, Danielle.
We're work wives. Work wives.
We are work wives.
We went and had photos taken together because we were like, let's get some cute beach, like something for content for Instagram. And I there was at one point I was like, why
is my hand around your waist? The photographer told me to do it first off.
I was like, I feel like you're my second wife, work wife, but it got real weird for a minute.
Literally.
She's like, no, hold hands and skip. I was like, I don't know. I'm really sober right now. I don't know if I can hold hands.
My favorite is when she's like, put your arm around Danielle's waist. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, just like pull her really close. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm whispering in Danielle's ear. I'm like, I'm so sorry. This is so weird.
The best was the one I posted a couple weeks ago. And you go. I was trying to look for a more serious face one. And for those of you who maybe have not seen Ani, she's like the tiniest human ever. But she has like almost a full sleeve. But it is a Harry Potter sleeve, which makes it more ironic.
I look like a bad bitch biker. I'm not. I'm just a really big fucking nerd.
So I post this photo and I wanted something more serious because I was talking about something more serious. And Ani goes, dude, does my arm look really big in this photo? And I was like, it is kind of a weird angle. I already posted. I can't shrink it in. I'm sorry.
She goes, I'm getting a lot of likes. I can't take it off. I go, delete.
But she goes, dude, I look like your bodyguard. And I go, yeah, you and your prison tattoos. So this is my bodyguard for today's show. We're hoping that we're nice and safe inside
I'm going to cry.
But it's so funny. People, when they come to our classes, too, they're like, you guys are tiny humans. We're all,
they literally go, oh, you're smaller than I thought. I'm like, okay, wait, like weight-wise or height-wise? Because every time you say that, I'm like, it's either offensive or I'm flattered.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, people assume like we're taller, I think.
I'm 5'1", you're 5'3".
Yeah, I know.
Guys, we're dinky humans.
Yes, most people think I'm at least 5'7" and 5'8". And what's so sad is like my sisters are both tall and somehow I got the short end of the stick, literally.
I mean, yeah, but look how cute you are.
Yeah, I don't
That's
care.
all that matters.
It's fine. Anyways.
But I do think it's very funny when people come up, they're like, you're just so small. I'm like, I'm not a toddler. I'm fucking 30. You don't have to talk to me like that.
Yeah, I think that's why it's hard for people to take us, not serious, but I think we're like small and mighty and we're pretty young still. So it's funny. Like we are a force in our industry, but we're like, this is tiny little 30-something-year-olds.
I'll cut you. I'm just kidding. I won't.
Oh my God. Okay, bring us in on today's topic, Miss Bodyguard.
Let's talk about the right time.
The right time is now.
The right time.
The right time.
I hear this so much. And you know what? I actually had a conversation with an artist the other day, and she's in our academy, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And she's struggled with this for a while. She drops like some clients, but she won't take the plunge.
Yeah.
It's like one little toe at a time. And she's like, she's like, I'm hitting like my threshold. She's like, I'm overwhelmed. I have too many clients. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I added on another day, this and that, da-da-da. Like, I don't know what to do. And I go, okay. I'm like, it's fine. I'm like, just keep taking clients, add on another day. And every time you do that, tell your kids that you don't care about spending time with them. Tell them right to their face.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, oh no, I'll show you. I typed that bitch right up. I absolutely said it. And she was like, what? I go, every time you tell a client, yes, you'll add on another day. It's you telling your kids that they're not as important and you're just telling them no. So just remind them of that. She was like, okay, that's what I needed to hear. I was like, okay. Good talk.
She's that's why I'm in the academy.
See you later. It was a really great talk. Or even there's another artist and she's like, same thing. She's like, I'm overwhelmed. Like I keep adding on days. I can't catch up. I go, cool. You're never going to catch up. That's a theory. Yeah. That's nothing real. Yeah. You're never going to catch up.
You actually have to like take a step back in order to take 10 steps forward.
Yes. Well, and I told her, I said, okay, let's play out I'll give you a hypothetical situation. Here we are today. You normally work 3 days a week. Now you're working 5 to have these influx of clients because we've all been under quarantine. Totally get it. I absolutely get it. California is still in all technicality shut down. With that being said, what happens in 6 to 8 weeks when those 5 days worth of clients now need a tightening appointment or their color redone? And then what happens 6 to 8 weeks after that when those same clients need to come back in? Guess what? You now have not only fucked yourself for right now, you wrecked yourself in 6 weeks when they're coming back and 6 weeks after that and 6 weeks after that. So what you need to do right now, because the time is right now, is you just need to make a schedule and stick to it come hell or high water.
Right.
Like, I hate that when people say, just when's the right time? You tell me.
I remember, I've shared this story before, but I remember I was working Saturdays when I first moved to California because I was in the building phase of, so whenever I've moved, I've told this before, but I've done hair in 3 different states and like 14 different salons because I was just chasing the dream. But I remember this one, when I first moved to California, even though I'd been doing hair for a while and I had my brand going and that kind of thing, I would work Saturdays because I was like, well, clients want to come in on Saturdays. And that's like what we're told in our industry is like hairdressers work Saturdays. And I had kids and I was tired of, and Garrett worked Monday through Friday and he would take Saturdays off. But I felt like I was missing out on so much stuff on Saturdays. And I remember like waking up and he's like, I don't even know what they were going to do. Something fun, paddleboarding, something. I don't know. They're going to do something fun. And I just was like, what's wrong? And I was like, just really emotional and overwhelmed. And I hit that point that many of us artists, it's like we hit a wall. And it's not that we don't see that wall coming. We allow ourselves in a situation for far too long until we hit this emotional breakdown. We see the storm coming. It just all of a sudden something triggers us. So for me, it was this one Saturday where I'm getting ready to go into work and they're going to do something fun and I fucking hit a wall and I was like, take a deep breath. And Garrett looked at me, he goes, cancel your day. I go, I can't. And he goes, why? I go, well, and I had somebody flying in. I was like, that's kind of irresponsible and like, no. And he said, okay, well, cancel every Saturday from here on out. I was like, I can't do that. And he's like, why? I'm like, I can't. I think I actually have, a fly-in 2 weeks from now or whatever. And he goes, tell her you're not taking Saturday. See if she can reschedule her flight. Tell her you'll pay the fee for a flight change. I'm like, oh, like I was going through every story in my head because I had a lot of fly-ins at that time. I was like, I can't. I have a fly-in and their schedule is more important than my schedule because they're flying. And I was like, well, what if I was in a situation where I actually couldn't go in on a Saturday? Well, then they would have to reschedule and they would. So I was like, okay, you're right. And there was no easy way to do it because I had so many fly-ins at the time. There was no stopping point, right? So I literally.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be a day where you're like, cool, now I can do it. Today's the day.
No, in fact, I kept getting busier. And I was like, I can't continue to do this. Otherwise, you just hit another wall and another wall and another wall. And then the tsunami just fucking takes you out and you're like, I don't want to do hair anymore. Because it compiles on itself. And so I was like, oh my God. And so he gave me permission. I remember Garrett said, go cancel. And he's not a hairdresser, so he couldn't relate.
There's no emotion to it for him.
He was just like, why, babe? Like, I got us. I'm paying the bills. It's fine. Like, I got us. And I was like, okay, why? So then I had permission. I rescheduled them. And so I think that hairdressers get in that, and all business owners really, they tell themselves they can't, but there's no good stopping point. There's no good time.
And that's the thing. I think everybody wants there to be a time where we wish we could hit pause on everything, which I think COVID was very interesting because it almost did do that. Yeah. Like there was a moment where everything was just like, weird. Okay, well, I can't go to work. No one else is going to work, so no one else is making progress where I'm not making progress. Oh, wait, you mean they are still making progress and doing things? Interesting. Like the world, time is not ever going to stop. Right. So when people say, oh, I just need to know like the right time, like when will I know everything and be able to do everything? Well, you won't. Like I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
In fact, it gets worse. Like if you allow it, like I said, like just even with my example of my story, if I allowed my business to get busier and get busier and get busier, and then I had to cancel multiple flights, it would just get harder.
That would make the problem, it exacerbates the problem, makes it so much bigger. Right. Or even like when I hear taking it off of hair, but when women are like, I'm just waiting for like the right time to have a baby. Look, I don't have kids. Danielle, you have 3, but you're like, wait a minute. But I mean, you have 3. Is there ever a right time?
In fact, that's why there was such a big gap with my last one. I have 2 girls that are 4 years apart, and that was a good space, but even that was like a big space. Yeah. And then with Isla, I had started down my career, and I just was like, there's no good time, but I knew I wanted another kid, and I was like, I kind of felt like I was like drowning in the business aspect of things, but I started to, me and my husband and I didn't like him for a while, but then I started to like him again, and I was like, there's no good time, but I want another baby, and I was like, well, I guess I'll start trying, and then I got pregnant, miscarried, and then I got pregnant again, but I was like, that was why there was such a big space, is because I kept telling myself like, oh, next year my business will be better, and then I'll have more time. And you know what's so crazy? Even with baby Isla, like I was still working behind the chair because
almost until you popped, dude.
Literally, I remember I went into work. I was like 8 months along, and I had the back of my knee was purple, and Amanda was like, "Dude, that's not good." And I was like, "I'm fine." She's like, "You are limping," but that's what hairdressers do. We do crazy shit because we just love it. But long story short, I had a DVT, and I had to stop working early. And the DVT is a blood clot, which actually is quite serious. You can die from it.
Uh-huh.
And I was induced early with Isla. She's totally safe, healthy. Obviously, I bounced back. Everything's good. But I was just like, it took like my almost feeling like my life was at risk to be like, shit, Danielle, like, what are you doing? And then that whole year we worked on building the academy, and I started putting my time and effort. And I genuinely believe that if you don't find that stopping point before it happens, it will happen in a way that life,
the universe forces it.
Yes, the universe forces it. And so it was like, oh my God. And that's how I even felt like with everything that I've done in my career, I have to notice the signs of the tsunami coming. Otherwise, like you said, like, yeah, the universe kind of like forces it. And it's so it's like painful, but then it's like really painful.
Well, and I feel like because I totally agree, like the universe will literally like force stop you, brick wall, like you're not fucking moving. But I feel that's where it becomes the breaking place of everybody.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can break in one of two ways. You can break to where you've decided you're broken and it's never going to get better. And you stay like just bouncing off that brick wall forever, telling yourself it's never going to get better than this. Or you break, but you choose to almost break in a way where you acknowledge it and you're like, yep, this hurts. This fucking sucks. It's painful. I'm broke. Like I've hit my threshold. I'm breaking.
Right.
But you almost like say, okay, but I don't want to stay here. And you like go around the brick wall, and that builds you up to be even bigger and even stronger.
I remember when I had like a 5-year period that was pretty wild. And I remember feeling like, why do I feel like I keep getting hit by a bus? Like it was just like one thing after another, after another, after another, whether it was in my relationship, whether it was with like Garrett's health, it was like my health. I was literally like, when am I going to get a fucking break? And I remember literally being on the floor sobbing sometimes at night, just feeling like, why does it keep compiling on me? And I was like, because you need to fucking wake up. And I was like, holy shit. And that was one of my big come to Jesus moments where I was like, you're in charge. Change it. Stop letting life happen to you. And you have to be proactive and create your own situation and your own path. Like, don't be a fucking victim. And I've had several moments like that in my life. And I think that it's molded me to who I am. But also there's been some dark times in creating where I'm currently at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's part of the hard thing of even where we're both at today, that people see it and they're like, oh, how fun and exciting. But there's been a lot of pain behind it. Parts of our story that I feel like even today, after you wrote a little bit about me, I ended up writing a whole big thing.
I saw
like,
that.
you know, October, I've lived here for 3 years, by the way. I'm 2 months away from 3 years.
I couldn't remember. I was like, can you give me all the facts? I think I wrote it wrong.
Literally, like, it's mind blowing when I see her. I'm like, damn, 2 months away from 3 years since I moved here.
And it seems like longer to me.
It's been 10 years.
I know. It's like,
it's been great. But even inside of that, I know that there are parts of our story that people have never heard, like things that we don't really talk about, that we've never really said, that I feel like it starts to really though. Yeah. I feel like it starts to come out little by little as I feel like it's almost like we get more comfortable with it because we know like
we're out of that painful spot.
Yeah. It's not who we are today. It's not what we're experiencing today. And you almost like come to a place to accept that without that thing happening, you wouldn't be where you're at today. You wouldn't be who you are, like mentally, emotionally, physically, like all of it. You'd be a totally different person.
Right.
But that's also why I feel that when either you see the tsunami coming and you're like, pedal the other way, like don't go down there, like that's a fucking waterfall, or the universe is like, you dumb bitch, pop, like you're done, like now you can't do it anymore. You have to just choose something else, but you're going to be stronger by choosing something else and course correcting. And even if it's something super big, like closing a business or ending a marriage or moving across the country, quitting a job, whatever it is, none of that means you failed.
Right.
You didn't fail. You chose a different path. I think a lot of times
we have our heads in the sand and we don't want to admit defeat or failure. But you already are kind of defeated if your head's in the sand. Like if you don't know where you're at in your business and you're kind of drowning because you maybe didn't actually look at the numbers and you just kept thinking, it's okay, it'll get better, I'm just gonna keep doing this, it'll get better.
Like little ducks.
Like, it'll get better. And it's like you know what's going on. You know, but you won't take a real honest look at it. And you're like, no, I'm a survivor. Well, nobody cares if you're surviving a failing business. That's not surviving. That's not. So you have to be willing to like look at where you're really at in order to course correct. There's no magic formula to marketing. There's no magic formula to business.
Nope.
There's no magic formula. Like the things that I have learned over the past probably 5 years is trial and error and commit to being consistent.
Literally, trial and error. Can we please discuss that? I think, girl, let me tell you this. So DKW Styling Academy is where all of our students are. It's daily with me and Danielle. We have 4 trainings a month and categories and things they have to do. We have special events. Like, it's so much inside the academy. And I'm the one that built it out on the tech side. And when I found out this was my project, I was very surprised because someone else was supposed to do it. And then he was like, nah, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, we're launching in 4 weeks. What do you mean you're not doing it? He's like, I'm not doing it. And so I was like, I'm doing it. Okay, I'm going to do it. If you think for a second I didn't bawl my eyes out for like a week straight, Danielle accidentally saw 2 meltdowns and she was like, that's rough. And I'm going to give Ani her space, which I needed to let me feel it for a moment.
I was like, are you good? Are you good? You were like, good. I'm good. I just need a minute. I was like, okay.
Yep. I'm like, I'm fine. I got it. I'm good.
Because there's like, I'm good, Ani, and then there's like, I'm not good, Ani, but then there's like, I'm not good and I need help.
Yes.
Sometimes there's I'm not good, but I just need a minute, Ani.
Yes. And I feel like that's normally me where I'm like, like you just kind of want to scream and like strangle something, but I'm good. But even inside of that, I created the academy and then I accidentally deleted it. So then I had to restart from scratch. And then when I rebuilt it the second time, I found out that the way we wanted to present it to the students wasn't doable the way I had built it. So I literally had to re-delete it and start all over again. And it was like, both of those times I broke down trying to build it the first time because I'm like, this fucking program doesn't make sense. It's like, it was a meltdown territory. And then when I was like, I nailed it. And then I was like, delete. I was like, vomited.
You know what though? It was so good that you did it because I would have hired somebody to build it out, but because we need to know like the back end of how it's built so that we can constantly course correct and add things to it. Can you imagine if like every time I'm like, hey, I want to add a new category about Isla, if like we had to hire, it's good to like know how to do everything. That. Yeah, but I used to be somewhat like that, and then I got to this place where I was like, I literally don't want to know everything. Like
I love knowing everything. I want to know everything.
Yeah,
but that's also part of my personality.
That time will pass.
I know. I'm fucking... oh, no. Wait. I don't know about that. But even it's so interesting. We're now training all of our trainees and trainers on how to do feedback and all these things. I recorded an entire video. It was like an hour and 20 minutes just on how to give feedback. I told them they have to watch it twice in a week. We're having another training on Sunday to answer questions. They're getting their own category. One of the trainees yesterday messaged inside of like our group and she goes, dude, this is the 5th time I've watched this. It's an hour and 20 minutes. She's like, I've watched this thing like 5 fucking times. She goes, who fucking thought of this? I was like, me. She goes, props. She's like,
which part?
The whole giving feedback period, how it's done, because we use like 2 different programs. We have private emails. It's so much, but it works like flawlessly right now. Like we got a system down. It's so good.
And it's for the inside the academy.
It's for people inside of the academy, so we can give them feedback on their work, make sure they're caught up on their homework by day. If they didn't watch the videos, there's a certain tag. If they didn't do the assessment, there's a certain tag. If they have to redo it, there's a certain tag. If they pass at the first of the month, there's so much, and I love it. But she was like, who fucking did this? I was like, oh, that was me. I'm like, but I sat there step by step. I'm like, this is what I need. Okay, now let me start plugging in, jigging, adjusting. That was stupid and didn't work. Okay, this works great, but this could work better. Like, it just grows. But I didn't one day wake up.
I'm like, Ani, make a rainbow and then send it to me for approval. Thank you.
Literally. And I'm like, are you fucking, ma'am, here's a scratch drawing of a rainbow.
I'm more like the visionary. I'm like, here's what I see might work. What do you think?
Yes. And visionary and implementer.
Yeah. And I was like, and you'll be like, okay. And I'm like, you got this? I'm like, do I need to hire someone? No, I got this. And if you don't got it, we got a back pocket, and his name is Ali.
He is a sweet angel. I tell you, we love him so much. But I think that's where people almost get silent when they're like, I'll do it when the time is right. Because they think that you wake up one day and you're like, ding, here's the perfect out, flawless idea all the way from A to Z and 1 to a million, all the colors and all the things I need. Fuck no. That is the opposite of what happens. Right. Even with the academy, we're like, this is what we want. Here's like a chicken scratch, rough draft, half idea.
And you just throw it out there and you perfect it as you go.
It's like building a little Lego castle. You start with the green little plate and
next
then
you know,
put up a
grand
wall.
Castle.
All of a sudden, it's as big as you and you're walking in and you somehow live there. I don't know.
Well, what's so crazy, even from what BMS was when it started, it was like an idea. I looked at Garrett. I was like, the students need more. I'm like, they just need more. I'm like, MBR is a great tool. I can do pretty hair. That's great, but it's not enough. And there's so many other hand-tied, beaded, fucking invisible, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know out there right now. And I was like, so what's going to make this different? And what makes it different is my story to success, my just being willing to fall flat on my face. Like, I feel like I was the first one out there doing anything with hand-tied hair. Rows were not looked at as cool. Rows were looked at as cheap. They didn't look good. Everyone was doing fucking tapes and individuals. And I was like, those are garbage. I'm not doing
honestly, at this point, point, you should be so proud you have so many knockoffs.
I know, no, but that's why I look at where BMS was though, and like the evolution, like NBR is a great tool, and lots of people have great tools too that are knockoffs, competitors, whatever you want to call them. That's great. I don't care. They don't have BMS, and I know BMS is what really creates like an amazing tribe and a community with our artists. And what's cool is even this year, like when you think about where BMS started, and it was just an idea of like, I sat down with Garrett and I was like, they need more. I don't know how to do it. He's like, okay. So he really got into my mindset and helped me try to like create these programs with what he was doing with Wake Up Warrior and trying to understand the mindset of a hairdresser. And we worked together for years, and then he brought you on and he like kind of replaced himself with you.
Definitely.
And it was great because you did hair, so you could kind of relate, but you had a lot of training from Garrett, and we created this beautiful system. And then this last year I was like, they need more. A mastermind by itself is not going to cut it anymore. They need higher, better, bigger results. And that's when we created DKW Styling Academy. And I'm so excited for every year to improve upon DKW Academy.
Definitely.
And I think where students get stuck is they get overwhelmed. So I know you're like, hey, you get stuck with where you're at right now and you kind of stay on a hamster wheel. A lot of them might be visionaries like me that have huge intentions, huge visions, huge goals, and then they start thinking and the wheels start turning, and then they're like, never mind, I'm already drowning with my 60 clients here, so I'm just gonna stay here because I can't even fathom. Like, you get overwhelmed, right? And so you have to just kind of like be willing to like let some stuff go in order to create more space so you can grow other stuff. And you don't have to start like clear up here. You start with little things like, hey, let's add this inside of the academy. Or as an artist, it might be like something like, hey, let's cut out men's cuts this month. Hey, let's hire an assistant this month. Like little things like that will get you to the goals that you're trying to reach.
And I feel like you have to remember there's no skipping steps. Like, I'm so sorry. I totally wish there was. It would make life easier. Even one of the artists in the academy, I'm sorry, this is so funny and fucked up. So she had hired a social media guy, and it was like crazy. He like ripped off one of our pictures and photoshopped the back to be black, to market it as her work. And then I told her, I'm like, hey, that's actually our work. And she was like, I didn't even know. Like, she deleted it. Then the next post he put up was a girl.
Oh, I saw that one. I thought it was a little strange.
Sitting straight, like legs like out on the beach.
All I saw was ass cheeks and a little bit of hair.
Yeah, well, you clearly didn't read the caption. He wrote a whole big thing about how, prep yourself, Danielle,
no.
how KY Jelly Lube is great for your hair and you should use it. And I'm reading this like, oh, there's no way she knows. The hashtags were fucking weird. I literally texted her and I was like, yo, girl, you need to look at
Even
this.
if it was good for your hair. I've never tried that, by the way, but like,
ew,
like trashy marketing.
Ew.
Oh.
She had no idea he had posted that.
Oh,
Because she had hired him without doing research on what he actually did. It was like a recommendation. A friend's like, oh yeah, I totally love him. He'll like do a great job. And she's like, he was new and I wanted to help him out. I'm like, he's ruining your business. Like, stop.
Yeah, you have to be very careful.
He just told people to put lube in their hair. Don't do that. But going back to what you were saying about, it's true. And I feel what
Did she take that post down?
Yes, she did. Okay. And fired him for very apparent sticky situations.
Don't put
guys.
lube in your hair ever. Thank you.
Don't put that on social media.
No.
But even going inside of back to you being the visionary and the implementer, it works out really great because there are times where you're like, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, that's cute. No.
It's a broad rainbow.
We can't do that, Danielle. And here's 17 reasons why. And you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
So not that like we knock our dreams back down.
But you got to reel it in.
Yeah, and everything just goes step by step by step. And that's how, even like, for example, our trainer program, we brought trainers on beginning of 2019 and we're kind of like, what are we doing? And we're like, I don't know. They need to know these 5 things. Well, let's train them on these 5 things. And we started there. And now it's an entire 5-year program from platform artist to trainee to trainer to national NBR artist to mentor. Like,
but I think they knew. You know what we've always been really good at is like, even though I might have not have correctly understood, I believed in myself enough to like share my passion that people will like, they joke around all the time. Like, I don't know what you're selling, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And I think I even was like, I don't know, but I believe in me and I believe in you guys. And I know that if I back you and you back me, that we're going to do this and we'll go much further together than I will solo. So are you fucking in or not? So drink the Kool-Aid. Cause like, I know this shit's going to work. And I think that our first group of trainers are like, I'm all in. Tell me where to sign. Like, you know, and it was, I think they believed in themselves enough, but they also believed in like, okay, let's roll this out. And it kind of unfolded, like you said, over the last year. And I think that everybody likes a little bit of structure, but in the beginning, you have to be willing to visualize and dream big, and then see, and then
be okay
implement.
with no structure and constant course corrections.
course,
being like,
yes.
hey, that didn't work. Quick, right, no, right sucks. Go left. Like,
And you know
you
what?
have to be okay with
If
it.
something fails, whether it's like you open a salon, it didn't work, or you decide to do events and it doesn't work, please take accountability for what is not working. Don't be like, well, because in the beginning, I remember people were like, MBR is not working, and I almost gave up. I was like, I'm so fucking sick of people emailing me, telling me that they, like, this bead didn't work, and this thread didn't work, and this hair didn't work, and this, I'm like, it's a you problem, not a me problem. Then I was like, hold on, Danielle. It's a me problem also, because now you're carrying my brand. So instead of being like, screw it, that event was awful, this was that, and bad, I was like, but how can we make it better? And so if you go into something such as business or whatever you're doing, is like, all right, let's take some accountability, and how can I make it better? Did that one hurt? Did that one suck? Was that one expensive? Yes. But you can't just like decide, hey, I'm not going to be a business owner anymore. Hey, I'm not going to do any hair anymore, because guess what? If you decide to open a new business, you're just going to repeat the same damn karmic loop, and you're going to find yourself in a different industry with the same fucking problems. Kind of like marriage. When I almost like didn't want to be married to Garrett, I was like, I had this real reality set in. It's like, I don't know if I'd be happier with somebody else or it'd just be a whole nother karmic loop. I was like, so why don't I have kids? Why don't I try to actually see if I can make this work? And now we're really happy and really solid. So I'm like, I'm glad that we both got to that place where we were willing to do that, though. You know what I mean? Because if only one did, it wouldn't work.
And that's the thing. There's no right time for anything. And even like looking at BMS, it started with a 1-8 person class, and now we have events that are in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you build upon it. So you don't have to come out of the gate with something perfect. You don't, whether it's a website, whether it's a funnel, whether it's learning how to post photos, whether it's taking photos. I have the funniest TikTok to show you, by the way. I hope I have it. So it was a girl who was taking photos, and the rocking thing she was doing, I was crying.
Trying to take photos of herself?
No, girl, it looks so good. No, she had a photographer, but she was doing your thing.
Yeah, you gotta
you fucking horsey, but it looks so good. And I was dying. I was like, this is how it actually looks. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing out of the gate, it's never going to be perfect. I'm so sorry. That's such a hard reality to understand, but it's not. You're going to fuck it up. You're going to do it wrong. You're going to look back a year later. If you keep doing it and doing it consistently, you will look back a year later and be like, it's a little embarrassing now, but I still did it.
But consistent with the intent to improve. Like, because I think a lot of times people just say, well, I'm hitting the checklist, so I'm doing this. And you're like, okay, well, what's not working in this checklist? What's not working in this photo? What's not working? Like, whatever it is, you have to be consistent and also like give yourself some feedback so that you can improve. So you're improving, plus you're consistently improving. And then you look back over a year and you're like, woo, who am I? That's cool.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy. Like, even the girl that I talked about, I don't know if it was last week's podcast or this one, but that she was like, what was she saying? She was like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm bringing on more this. And I told her, I'm like, you're never going to catch up. Like, it doesn't exist. Even inside of that, when she was saying that, she's like, I just feel stressed and I hate going to work and these fucking clients piss me off and this and that. And she's like, but then I'm not getting new ones. And I go, you don't like your job right now because you're overwhelmed. I'm like, read what you just said. In the 5 sentences you sent me, in both of those, you said how much you're sick of going to work. I go, so ask yourself why. Are you sick of going to work because you're fucking overwhelmed and tired and exhausted? Or are you sick of going to work because you just don't like your clients that you shouldn't be doing anyway? Like, what's going on? And now switch, make moves, start somewhere. Even when I started in BMS, in a year, I raised my prices 3 times. And every time I did, I would start dropping more. I didn't walk in and I'm like, your prices are going to be triple today, and I'm not doing men's, kids, women's cuts, and I'm not doing colors anymore, and I'm not doing gold extension methods, I'm only doing NBR. I did it little at a time, but those little things built up to create the full foundation of what I built my business on.
And what's so crazy is I think that people look at it like a year and they're like, oh, that's a lot of work, a whole year wasted on that. And I'm like, no, a whole year progressing on that. And so it's like like literally like it just, you can look back and be like, wow, okay, that was working. Again, same with like if you're consistent with a diet or a workout or whatever it is. In the beginning, you're like, this sucks. I've been doing it for 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden you're like 6 months in, you're like, okay, things got a little less shitty and I'm seeing some improvement. And it's a balance of not falling back into that like, fuck it, I'm tired and I'm burnt and I can't do this anymore. Like, just get up, keep improving. And like upon that, you're like, wow, look how far I've come. You know what I mean? We all have shitty days. We all have good days, bad days. It's just like, I think that like guilt is the craziest thing for human beings. Like I feel like guilt holds us like hostage in a way. Like if we feel guilty for something we're not doing, it actually like spirals below. So you just have to like be like, okay, where am I at? And I love how we always have our students do facts and feelings. Facts. When I'm feeling like super shitty with myself, I literally like, I kind of like just like do it in my mind, but I'm like, okay, what are the facts of what's really going on? Mm-hmm. What are the feelings? And when I look at the facts, I'm like, okay, you're fine. Like get going, get busy, do this, do this, do this. And everything kind of pans out.
Gosh, I wanted to say something like 4 sentences ago. You said something that I'm like, oh, that was such a good point. That's why I just stared at you doe-eyed for a minute. No, I can't, and I hate it because as you're saying it, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense, and I have something so great to contribute, and now I have fucking nothing.
Well, all I can say is 2020 is an interesting year, and I think I feel like a lot of people are, especially artists with salons being down and not, or kind of down and then back up and then like masks.
I know. Hold on. I got it.
Oh
okay.
my God, you scared me so bad. I thought there was like a bug.
No, I'll listen. Hold on. If you were saying that some people, they're like, oh, the year's too long. I don't want to do it. I can't do any of that. But here's the crazy thing. You already know that this is something that you want to do. So if you say, oh, a year's too long to work on this, I'm not going to do it. Then a year from then, you could have had the entire fucking project done. But instead, you're still on that very first step because you were too fucking lazy or scared to actually go forward and make a move. So you can either do it now and be done in a year, or you can wait a year and then be done in 2 years.
Right.
If you know you're going to do it no matter what, why let yourself stay in a place of pain that's super shitty for longer than you have to be?
Right.
You're making it worse for yourself. See? Great fucking point.
You got it. Well, it's so funny. In one of our last classes, I was surprised there was a girl in there because I always want to know, I'm like, how long have you guys been following? Because some people think I just like popped out of nowhere and this, like, what is this BMS? I'm like, I've been working on my brand for 10 years. So give me a second. And yeah, I had some good years and some bad years. But I remember in our last class, we were asking how long have you guys known? One girl raised her hand. She goes, 6 years. I'm like, 6 years? I'm like, wow. I'm like, you're here. And what do you think? She's like, I should have done it 6 years ago. And I was like, well,
but you know what? 6 years ago,
it was a different program.
Time, and it was a different program.
Exactly. So
let me tell you, all the applications that come in for BMSCON virtual experience. So because of COVID, guys, and we know that traveling is still a little bit scary, we're actually holding a BMS convention that teaches natural beaded rose, which is the art behind the chair, and then BMS, which is the business marketing and sales in front of the chair. We're actually doing a virtual convention. We're super stoked. It's beginning of December, 3 days, and it's I feel like the pricing is so great compared to especially like what we normally do.
Right.
But it's so funny because all the applications that come in, I 100% read them, like, and I'm going through and giggling because one of the questions is like, why are you a good fit for BMS? And some people, they're like, I've been following for 3 years. I've been following for 4 years. I've been following since the beginning of Danielle. I've been listening to your podcast for 2 years. Everything. Do you know one fucking girl? And I was like, ah! She said, she goes, I've never taken a class by you guys. All I do is listen to your podcast and I implement, and I've already seen a 30% increase in my income. Yep.
Oh.
And I was like, yes, it works.
It's so funny. In my post today, I was saying, like, listen, I know we make a ton of income claims, but it's not like we're just, I think about like what we're doing with the artists, and it's not like, oh, I got a 10% raise this year. The artists are going from making like $25,000 a year to like 300,000. Like, it's like
I quintupled, which is 5x, bitches. I had to look at the word. That's
but
right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is not
In
like
a
a
year.
small price increase. Like, artists are just doubling down, like, and it's crazy. And I was like thinking, like, can you imagine if you take somebody and you double and triple their income, the impact that has on their family? I'm like, so I may make a ton of income claims with all of my students, and there's some that like maybe choose to stay where they're at, but we have a ton of success stories. And I know that if you can get artists to start tripling their income, you will change an industry. Like, you will have an impact on our industry. I've had people even say, like, can I just come do BMS? And I'm like, why wouldn't you want to use the tool though too? Like,
the tool goes together, guys.
I think they're like kind of like, no, but I really love color and this, and I love what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm like, listen to the podcast then, because I guess. And
I think in the future, because we've even talked about this, that BMS will be going not like public, but it will be going solo to help people who they love what they do, or maybe they have their own niche or whatever, but they really need help with the business, because that's where our industry just is a fucking bummer.
Yeah, because I still think, like, say you never did extensions, but I still think what we implement could help anybody, whether you're a colorist, whether you just cut hair, whatever you do. I do think what we teach people literally we've already seen it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And a lot of our artists, they're not like 100% MBR. A lot of them do kind of a little bit of both, and they're still seeing like huge increases just on like what they're implementing with their color pricing and things like that. So we want to invite you guys to join our next virtual event. I don't even know if it's in 2 weeks. Is it still going to be available? There might only be a week left of ticket sales.
By the time they're listening to this, yeah, guys, end of August is really like the final, because pre-training, there's 3 months of pre-training. It starts September 1st.
Yeah, so we do have pre-training. The event's not till November, but we don't want to do events are garbage without pre-training. So we have like individual coaching. We have pre-training because it's like showing up and you're like, what do I do? I'm like, we want to be really, really effective with our time, so we pour a ton of time into our pre-training. So if you guys want more information on this event, go to bigmoneystylist.com. We're actually going to be limiting the amount of tickets that we sell, and again, the pricing is crazy good right now. So if you've been on the fence for a while, don't let 2020 just put you on pause. Like,
you've waited for how long?
I mean, everybody's like, oh, the year's almost over. I'm like, but is it? How many more months do we have left in the year?
We're in August. It's month 9, guys. There's 12 months.
Exactly. We still have 3 months, and I feel like 2020 things are going to shift and change. And I'm like, why not utilize this time to take the skills and the knowledge that you need? So I want to again invite you guys to go to bigmoneystylist.com, and you can get more information about our next event. It is the last chance you have to join any of our education for 2020. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Don't forget to share it with your friends. I think that a lot of people know about it, but a lot of people don't. So don't forget to share it with your friends. And we want to thank you guys for listening every single week.